No surprise here as the first team selection at quarterback goes to Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson ahead of Baker Mayfield. Too many amazing moments and big numbers to let anyone else pass him at the end, BJ. But for you, it just no one could.
He was electric from game one. As soon as he stepped on the field, a 2016 campaign, he put on a show. So it didn't matter the competition. And then there early in the season, you get Florida State, and we're all sitting there thinking this is the same old Florida State. They will definitely corral this young man. But even then, he leaves them in his dust.
Mm-hmm. It was so amazing watching him play, and he really kind of popped for me. We all saw what he did early on against Syracuse, but that Florida State game, Florida State didn't look like they wanted to play. They kind of probably loafed early on, but they still had tremendous athletes. His ability to accelerate and change direction at full speed is something we haven't seen on the college level in a long time. Long time.
Last year, you know, he was the quarterback that looked at one receiver, they covered, take off running. Well, this year, a little bit better, a little bit more mature, but you're right, guys. He came out of the chute so fast. He can extend plays. They have design running plays. The speed on the field, he always looked like the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah. I'd like to bring up a guy from the college football version of the Witness Protection Program, also known as West Coast football. And that would be Browning from out at Washington. Yeah. 42 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. This kid, 12-1 football team. His highest profile game, he had his worst game against USC, the one loss that they had. But you have to really see this kid, and anybody that thinks the Huskies are basically just going to roll over for Alabama and Browning's not going to be there to the last tick of the clock is crazy. This kid is a great leader, and this is a great football team.
Yeah, a couple of multiple interception games, and like you said, the one against USC probably knocking them down a peg. But Browning also just being missing a spot there for our second team All-America slot. That goes instead to Baker Mayfield. Now, Mayfield, turns out, was a popular pick by the CBSSports.com writers, who are represented here today by Dennis Dodd, who arm wrestled John Solomon in order to be the man here in New York. Dennis, why do you think the writers had a clear preference for Mayfield over Browning?
I looked at the numbers, guys, and Baker Mayfield is having a historically significant season. Unless he goes 1 for 10 in the bowl game, he's going to have the greatest pass efficiency numbers in the history of college football for one season. Over 197 points. So that sounds boring, but that suggests a lot of touchdowns, few interceptions, accuracy. He led the country in that category. Top 10 in yards and touchdowns. And it goes back to Lincoln Riley, who came in 2015. The offensive coordinator, Bob Stoops, came to reinstall the air raid offense that Mike Leach had brought there in 1999. And here's what you have. Baker Mayfield, one of the greatest of all time statistically in that category.
Now, monster offense, and he'll be back for more next year, so perhaps another visit to Studio 43 here like we had over the weekend.